Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada. In episode 42, we speak with veteran strength and conditioning coach Mike Boyle. So what did this person offer online?
Yeah, I'll get into it right now. So this girl, U.S. fitness influencer gets death threats over scam allegations. The online fitness influencer has reportedly failed to provide the personalized and regular communication advertised in her online fitness program description. So what happened was, in Instagram, I read you that part. We go weeks at a time without communication. One client told Houston news station KHOU, there would be something I need to know that morning, and I wouldn't hear back from her until that night, maybe until a week later. I mean, what kind of access is that? Yeah, you want to know what? Well, I wouldn't even mind if it was that night. That's fine. I don't know what she was actually. I heard it was way worse than that. See, that doesn't sound that bad. Oh, okay, here we go. I purchased 3 online plans from Brittany. The first was a month-long training plan advertised as individualized, when in reality, it was the same exact plan every consumer receives. One complaint on Better Business Bureau website says, in addition, the plan included weekly check-ins to ask questions, receive guidance, and adjust macronutrients. Not only were the responses from her well beyond the promised time frame, they also didn't bother to answer any questions or address any of my concerns. They were generic responses like, doing great, keep going, girl. Yeah, so, this is what I want to get into. This is perfect. I think this is the perfect example of her offering some type of custom plan, thinking that she could fake it till she makes it. And a lot of the questions she was getting, one, it was too high a volume for her to answer, but 2, anything she was able to answer, she just couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is the first one more than anything. Like, you just can't, you don't have the time to deliver what you've promised, right?
Right. So this woman, Brittany Dawn Fitness, she's got 555,000 followers. And there's really nothing, I mean, going to her posts, why in the pancake ass would you even post this? Do you even squat, bro? This was a comment left by a man on a photo posted a few years ago. This would have broken my spirit. Okay, so she's talking about her emotions. Okay, fine, I understand. You got to show, I get it. A little giveaway tonight. So she's doing a giveaway. Why is my stomach so flat in the morning till I eat a crumb and suddenly I'm 8 months pregnant with twins? Probably. And she just writes, well, and she goes like this, French fries, the French fry emoji, and I can't even tell what that emoji is. My answer would be, well, if you're really having a crumb and really isn't a lot of food and you're blowing up, maybe you have some type of food allergy or food intolerance. Like, that would be like, and I would tell the person, I would say, listen, you got to be true to yourself. Is it really just a crumb? Because it is, you may have a food intolerance. You may want to go out and do some testing to see, I can't afford testing. Well, you may want to try an elimination diet, because that doesn't cost anything. You're just eliminating different foods. You can go online. You can look for good elimination diets. You can find something. She's not even giving an answer. So right now, when I go to her page, it's a picture.
But that's a complex answer that takes time, right? And I just think, 1, she probably doesn't have the knowledge. 2, she doesn't have the time.
But you have 555,000 followers. What I would do, I would say, wow, that's a really good question, because I think it is. I would video myself because it took me probably 30 seconds to answer that, and I would use it as a post. And then just fire back to her, hey, check this out. If she was able to answer with some French fry emojis, she can answer, go to my IGTV or look at my last post, and boom, done. Like, out of nowhere. Now you're providing content. But there's shout out to the women trying to excel in their career, maintain a social life, drink enough water to cancel out too much coffee because she's drinking a Starbucks. Okay. Like, there's nothing. Hi guys, my name is Brittany Dawn, and this is the best that I have ever felt in my own skin. All right, well, that's moving. But how does the everyday person who's following someone like this, how can they distinguish between whether she's good or whether she's not good? Because I can go to her page right now, and I can tell that she's got to have a deal with Starbucks, because she's had 3 posts up
Well, there's certainly a lot of great looking people on Instagram, but whether or not their intellect matches up with their external appearance, who knows, right?
It's my topic at Perform Better this year. I'm actually speaking 3 times. I'm going to Chicago, I'm going to Providence, and I'm going to Cali. I almost said San Jose. It's not San Jose. Blah, 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 blah. I'll think of it in a second. I'm drawing a blank. But, my topic is really on the realms of, is getting to 1 million followers really necessary? Because I know Instagram and I know, it's not about the following anymore. I think initially people will go look at someone's following like that and they'll say, oh, wow, she's got a big following, I'll follow her. But there's so many different analytics now that are important. And, engagement. I was looking, Eric Cressy the other day, he's got a pretty nice page. And I was looking at it, and I just, it's part of my business. I like looking at people's pages. He gets tremendous engagement. He's advertising, he's marketing to a lot of coaches. He might have under 100,000 followers, but he's getting the engagement of someone who's, in the millions right now. So you would initially look at his page and you'd say, all right, well, he's only got 80,000 or whatever his number is. But in my eyes, I think he's, it's almost the way it would be years ago if he had over 1 million followers. Like Eric, he's getting the type of engagement that someone would have if they were in the millions on following. So unfortunately, though, people are judging a book by its cover, and they'd immediately go to him and say, oh, he's got 70, 80,000 followers. It's not about that. It's about, the engagement. It's about the content. It's about, what are you giving to people that's of substance? He's giving things that's of substance, Now I completely, listen, let's look at it from the other side now. Like I'm not going to defend her, but I completely understand and respect when someone gets into business and things get away from them. Like, wow, like she struck gold. She was selling these plans. She thought she was only going to have about 30 people, but she got, 10,000 people. Then naturally, yeah, what the hell is going to happen? But I think she could have gotten out of this really easily. Like, let's say this. Let's say it was you or I. Okay.
That offered the programs, or
yeah, let's role play a little bit here. You launch I'm going to start with you. You launch your site. You have 500,000 followers. You put up this program, and out of nowhere, you get. This is what she's claiming. She got bombarded with so much volume that she just couldn't keep up.
That's on her. That's
right.
on her.
It's on her. But what are you doing after the first day? Like you turn around. It's the first day. You have 5,000. I'm sorry. You have 1,000 people. It's too much for you to handle. 1,000 is just too much for one person to handle.
You hire somebody to handle it for you, right?
Yeah, you're making money. Yeah, you bring someone in there to answer questions, or you answer with them, or you bring in a coach and you pay a coach a couple hours a day to help out with the volume. Yep. Even though they want you directly, like you sit there with a team and you collaborate, you do something. Or how about this? That's in a way that's, if you think about it, they're paying for you, but you're bringing another coach. So in a way that's that's fraud, right? You're promising you, but you're not giving you.
Not if you're kind of overseeing it, but like, let's be honest, like what does this girl truly know? So even if I could hire a professional who probably knows more than I do, right? Like if I'm her, right? And say like, okay, let's get some personal trainers in my network and hey, let's manage this.
Yeah,
right?
no. In her case, it's simple. She can go down to the local Equinox and, find a coach who's been there, level 3 who's been there for, 3-4 years. That's just been, studying and working his way up the chain and trying his hardest. And you can offer him, listen, you're making, $50 an hour training right now. And I'm going to pay you 100 and I need you 4 hours a day. And she's still going to be netting, so you pay this guy out 5 days a week. You pay him out, what I say, 4 hours a day, $100, 400 a day times 5 days. That's $2,000, right? That's a lot. That's a lot of money for a coach for 4 hours, especially working over there. She's probably netting, 70% over that margin. So she's doing really well, and she can now handle the volume. Or how about this one? The sales get put on hold, close shop, and just say, due to popular demand, I completely apologize. What a warm welcome response by everyone. I cannot handle the volume coming in. You have an option. Please be patient. This is what's going to change. I will get back to you instead of that night, like I promised, within a day. Or if you'd like your money back, I'm going to give your money back if that's not kosher, underneath your roof. That's not something that you signed up for. And you at least give them an option. And, you apologize to your people and just say, listen, it's a great problem to have, but I don't want to mislead you guys. I don't want to leave you on the hook. I would have a lot of respect for that person if they did that.
Yeah, but she's got to pay for that Range Rover.
Yeah, exactly. But my answer would be, listen, I'm just happy to be working with you and thank you. And I paid the top dollar to work with you. And get back to me when you can, but just get back to me. Let's if that's fine. And then you go from there. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, hire some people, manage the volume, do what you got to do, and then the next go around have a better plan. Obviously, there was no plan here, so.
How do we help people avoid these problems? I think there's I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I think there's some simple stuff, but I want to hear if you have any thoughts on this.
I mean, it's going to come down to work. It's like any sort of consumer product. Like, it's so easy to go out and just buy something, the first thing you see, but I'm a little different. Like, I create the spreadsheet of the pros and cons and the prices, and it doesn't matter what I'm looking for. I go through that process. Like, I look at all the Google reviews. I look at all the Amazon reviews. When I go on a vacation, I look at TripAdvisor, and I'm looking to make sure that my purchase is informed. And I don't know, maybe I'm different. I'm sure you do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like over the last couple of years, I started shopping on Amazon a little bit. My wife's been a great influence because I would never read a review on a product. It's just something I would never do in the past. Yet my wife will go through, it's just how she is. I think it's part of the fun for her when shopping, but she'll go through a dozen reviews. And she'll come to me and she's like, yeah, but I bought this. It was, God, it didn't have one bad review. I went through like 20 reviews, and I'm saying to myself, wow, you're doing your due diligence. Now, it's funny. I bought a baseball card. My son and I, shopped on eBay the other day. It was the first baseball card purchase I ever bought on eBay. I was influenced by a client of mine who's a big collector, and it wasn't expensive. It was a $10 card, but my son's a huge Doc Gooden fan, and my son wanted an autographed Doc Gooden card, but they do cards now with like a piece of jersey in it. And I found a really nice one. Yeah, it was really, really cool actually. And he flipped out over it. And I told him I'd get it for him if he did something I wanted him to do at school. And so, I went and I purchased it for him. He doesn't know it's coming. But yeah, I went to the reviews to see that there was a track record on this guy. I said to my, it's only $10. I mean, who cares? But it's not about the money. You don't want to have that feeling of being scammed. Whether it's $1 or whether it's $200. I mean, yeah, $1 hurts a lot less, but that feeling of being lied to is a terrible feeling. Being scammed is an awful feeling. And I just wish, when someone's going to look towards an influencer or they're going to buy a product, that there almost has to be some type of quality control.
We were on, just to kind of get right down to it, we were on a topic. There's a woman who just got in a lot of trouble. I'm reading off this thing. It's a fitness influencer. She's under fire for allegedly scamming clients. And I thought it was interesting because this week you've been on the topic a lot about looking the part, which has always been something frustrating for me because, yeah, we're in this world now. And we say we're in this world, but we're really not. I mean, you have your businesses going. I have my business going. Derek's got his businesses going. Like social media adds value to it, but if it was to close up tomorrow, like our businesses aren't going anywhere. Like, yes, we've just lost an important marketing stream that we're all using to our advantage, and everyone's doing a great job of it. But right now there's people up, on Instagram, on Facebook that have great bodies, and they don't know jack shit about shit, and they're just putting up pictures of themselves, but people are trusting them, and they're actually paying. Like what happened with this woman, Brittany Dawn, I keep forgetting her name. Brittany Dawn Murphy, is it? Derek, what's her name? Brittany Dawn Davis. Sorry, Brittany Dawn Davis. And she sold these programs, and she collected hundreds of dollars from different clients, and just went ghost. and didn't deliver programs and didn't deliver, the actual engagement that she promised. And then it came on, and what frustrated me the most was her apology was beyond pathetic. It was, I'm sorry. And, she's sitting there reading off her phone, and nothing's from the heart and nothing's genuine. And, then she's asking for, like, I'll return your money, but you have to sign an NDA. That's what she said. You gotta be kidding me. You cannot make this shit up. But as I'm laughing right now.
Hey, sorry, my son just came in screaming. I apologize.
Sure.
That happens all the time to me.
I get a lot worse.
But
my
daughters.
This is a huge problem right now. I mean, what's your thoughts, your viewpoints? How do we put some quality control on all this?
Well, I think one of the problems is, in all honesty, if you buy a program from someone that you saw on Instagram and like the way they looked in their picture, you probably should get ripped off.
Yeah. That's true.
And think it's like any other products that you just had somebody come in your office to. That's good. I feel better now.
Yeah, we're all set.
I can see what's going on here, and you can't see me. I'm going to take all my clothes off.
Then the camera will come on.
Shoot on out of nowhere.
Yeah. The camera will come on automatically.
That's right. And then the whole thing will shut down. You guys will be like,
I love it.
you'll crash the web as people trying to get off. But so I think some of that is, it's like, I tried to buy a sweatshirt one time on Instagram, and it was obviously someplace in China. I never got the sweatshirt. I couldn't figure out if my credit card got charged. So the bad part for it now is we're living in literally the wild, wild west. So even for me, these videos that I've been doing, just one day I'm sitting in the car and I'm thinking, okay, I've got to do a better job. I got to be more like Don. I got to do a better job of getting content out on a more regular basis. So I said, I'm just going to start. I'm going to do a 1-minute video in the morning in the car. And I got like 10,000 views. And I thought, hey, I found my niche. I'm going to try to do a 1-minute video every morning in the car. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's working. So I don't think anybody really has a great idea how this whole thing is going to work. And I think we all need to be consumers and think, okay, who am I sending my money to? Why am I sending them my money? And what am I supposed to be getting for it? It's no different than, I mean, I'm sure that today we all got an appeal from some Nigerian banker to help them transfer a couple $1 million in found money from the African continent into the United States, or in your case, Canada, Derek. But like, you get that stuff all the time. I can't believe people click on those. There are people who, they got scammed in that banker link thing. And I'm like, no one like really clicks on that and thinks that there's some guy in a foreign country who's trying to, needs to transfer $1 million and realize that they're going to be a good conduit for it. So I guess I can't feel terribly bad for the people. Yet at the same time, obviously our industry is full of unscrupulous characters who are just doing these things. So
I'm actually making a list. So I've been doing
of unscrupulous characters.
What's that?
I said you're making a list of unscrupulous characters?
No. Actually, the other way around. So, I kind of live in both worlds of, listen, I'm a strength coach at heart. And the most difficult thing for me with social media is, just giving a little bit to cater to the masses. And sometimes, sometimes I'll put things up and once in a blue moon, I kind of roll my eyes to it, but people want to see a shirtless shot, or they want to see, come on. But all in all, you got to stay true to your guns. But I was in at Muscle and Fitness because I've been doing this kind of webcast with them, and they're really trying to make a pivot on what they've been doing. So they've been very, very awesome and very open. And I was on just Wednesday, and I told them how, the magazines, the publications are glorifying people that shouldn't necessarily be. So they're really mainly glorifying people who are, who've got 2 million followers, where the reality is the smartest coaches that I know, they don't have that type of following. So if we want to clean up quality control, we have to start inviting on guests who are, credible and who have actually made a huge dent in the industry. And I started naming people, and they were like, oh, no, I've heard of him. But it wasn't like, oh, yeah. Like, I've had 100 conversations. I'm mentioning Gray Cook. I'm mentioning you. I'm mentioning Charlie. I'm mentioning Derek. I'm mentioning, Pat Davidson. I'm mentioning, Dr. Ben House. I'm mentioning all these guys that I'm friendly with, but who I feel have Dr. Greg Rose that have made, a dent in this industry, and that people would be a lot better off if they listened to them. but are people gonna, if you put Caleb Von Boger, who's, who played Arnold in his next video, who has 2.5 million followers, next to Mike Boyle to have a conversation about training, I mean, I'm sorry, Callum would be mortified in 10 minutes if you wanted to. You can embarrass the guy off the stage, which you wouldn't do, but.
And it would tear his bicep again.
You tear his bicep for the fourth time. But I'm saying this openly because people are still going to go look at Callum because they may not know who Mike is. And with Callum's shirt off, he looks like he can pick up a house and run down the street with it. Well, the reality is 10 out of 10 times I'm taking my fitness advice from Mike Boyle. Make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense. But it is, as I guess the difference for me is I look at this stuff and just think, hey, this is the world we're in. I need to figure out how to live in it and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm thinking, I'll give you a perfect example. I think I've been on Instagram for just over a year. And the reason I got on is that Kevin Carr and Marco, they had their Movement is Medicine, and they were talking about, we're doing really good on Instagram with followers. And I was like, really? Like, what's really good? And they were like, we have 25,000 followers. I was like, you have what? You have 25,000 followers for your sort of little business Instagram thing? And I'm thinking at that time that Instagram is sort of cute pictures of pets and things like that. And then I realized, wow, it's a huge advertising vehicle that I'm missing out on. And so I guess a big part of it for me is just, hey, be an early adopter and be an early adapter and get involved in this stuff and don't sit around and bitch. Like, the thing I don't like about our industry is there's so many people who sit around and bitch about, they sound like my grandfather, they want it to be the way it used to be, why can't we just do what we always did? And it's like, I have a slide, I just started doing a new presentation called Change is Good, You Go First. And one of the slides I have in there is a picture of a covered wagon and an airplane. And I said, in 1860, the best way to get across the country was covered wagon. You went on the Oregon Trail.
Right.
But if you ask somebody how they were getting to California right now and they said covered wagon, you'd be a little bit surprised. You'd look and think, hey, I think this airplane thing is really going to catch on. And you might want to try taking one of those to California. You can be there in 6 hours rather than 6 months. And someone might look at you and think, Don, I'm a covered wagon guy. That's just the way I've always done it. My family went over on the covered wagon and this is the way we're going to do it. I feel like that's how we are in the industry a lot, where people just keep looking and thinking, hey, I just want to do it the way I always did it. And they don't want to adapt. And so, again, yes, are people going to get scammed? Are there going to be some bad? Is there going to be some good? Yeah, but that's the reality of the industry, in every industry. It's not, I think we feel like we're unique in fitness, but we're not. We're probably, I think one of the things you'll realize, both of you guys, because you deal with lots of successful people, is when you have conversations with people, you find, oh my God, it's exactly the same in your world as it is in mine. There are these clowns out there who pretend they know what they're doing and other people believe them. And you'll talk to anybody. I don't care. You can talk to an actor. You can talk to a director. You can talk to anybody on Wall Street. And they'll be like, oh, I know guys just like that.
Right.
And I've realized in my life of being around clients that we're not nearly as unique as we might think we are.
Right. Right. I mean, I know, and I totally agree with you. I mean, I know people for a while because when Chris Poirier reached out to me a few years ago and asked me to do some talks, I'm a born bred fitness guy. That's what I do. I got into the social media end of it just because I had some really great people around me giving me really good content that I thought was much more unique than me going up and talking about the FMS or how we run our dynamic warm-ups. It's just what I decided to do because I thought it was going to be a little bit more unique. But it's interesting to see now how it's changed because, it's not about, and that's what my talk is this year. It's, is getting to 1 million followers really necessary? Because Instagram just sits there and screws with you all the time. They're changing their algorithm. And it really is about engagement. And the fact, you have 51,000 followers and you'll get 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is, views on a video. That's the analytics of someone in the 500,000 range to million range. So, it really is, at the end of the day, is it really about the following? I mean, what you're trying to do is you're trying to give someone, and some of the stuff might seem to you very basic, but you're trying to give people world-class content. You're trying to answer questions that they're asking you every day about their kids, about how to distinguish between, good and bad on social media, what you might be doing for, and I'm watching your stuff every morning now because it's fun and it's very real. But people just get so freaked out over it, and they think, I'm like, relax, it's all right. Just, you're a coach, continue to be a coach. Just try and start with one thing a day that you can teach someone. Just try and give. And if you're in it for the right reasons, then you'll get good return on it. But if you're sitting there trying to become a millionaire off of social media, it ain't going to happen, you know?
Oh my God. That's terrible to hear, because my son's strategy, I think, then of becoming a YouTube star playing video games is down the tubes. But
my son too.
He's laughing in the other room. I made him laugh. He thinks I'm really funny. But, looking. I
love it.
Right. And I think, but it's funny now, if people said, oh, Don Saladino, people would be like, oh, the social media guy. Because that's what you spoke. You know what I mean? But really, it's, you know, and like you said, you picked that out because you felt like, hey, here's something unique that I'm doing that I might be able to offer to this audience. But amazingly, people then associate you with that. They don't think, you know, drive. They don't think golf. They don't think business. They think social media.
Yeah.
And I had well, I would say a disagreement, because I kind of called out a guy the other day who said something about, you know, if you don't train yourself, you shouldn't be training people. No one wants to invest with a broke financial advisor. And I said, I take exception to that. I said, I have lots of people that want to train with me, and I'm not, I guess I am his definition of a broke financial advisor, because I'm not going to do any feats of strength for you on YouTube or on Instagram that are going to impress anybody at any point in time ever. And he got offended back. But I said to him today, well, you have to realize that what you say, you know, you want to pop it out there in 142 characters and hit send, then everybody's going to read it and everybody's going to form an impression of you. And if you don't like that impression, then have people form a different impression. So you've got to decide. And I think it's your avatar, it's your picture, like everything that you're doing, whether you want to say it does or doesn't, speaks about you. And that's the reality of the situation. And we're learning a new game. We've got a game here right now in social media that we're all trying to figure out, okay, what are the rules? And I've got a bunch of people who have been commenting to me saying, I love your stuff. It's real. I love the fact that you're not afraid to say what you think. And I look and I'm like, in social media circles too, people are afraid, oh, I don't want to offend anybody. I want everybody to like me. And, you know, I've gotten in trouble on a whole bunch of different fronts. You know, I've started commenting on, if I don't like an article that somebody writes, I say, I didn't like that article, and here's why. And I think it's all coming with the territory, and we're going to figure it all out. But it's just right now, again, like you said, Muscle and Fitness. You know, Muscle and Fitness, they used to be able to write something once a month and probably really think about what they wrote. Whereas now we're doing something every day. And some days you look back and go, oh, I don't know if I should have done that one. But the problem is, once you hit send, I mean, yeah, you can delete it. You can get back up there and take it down at some point. But you don't know how many, you know, you'll get 1,000 views in an hour where, hey, 1,000 people saw that already. And it's out there. And then, you know, we always talk about that with the kids. Somebody can screenshot it. People can save it. They can save it to their camera roll. If you get someone who's really tech savvy.
Oh man. I mean, that happens. I mean, you got to be so careful. I mean, you even see it with big name clients who can't even respond to someone because if you catch someone in the wrong light. I mean, look at the whole Kevin Hart thing, right? I mean, what was he supposed to? He was supposed to host the Oscars, right? And he got pulled off because he passed some homosexual jokes, you know, back in, what was it, 2008, 2009. I mean, he's a comedian. The guy's on stage. Like, I'm sure he got in the moment. I'm sure the guy is not, you know, a bad guy. He comes off as a really good guy. I mean, he had Ellen, you know, DeGeneres sticking up for him. So, you know, the guy's on stage. He's doing, but that lives with him 10 years later, and he probably didn't even remember it. And it comes back on.
That have gotten in trouble for tweets that they put up when they were in high school, and someone goes back and starts. But again, this is I can remember when phones first started getting popular. Jack Parker, who was our hockey coach at BU, who winning his coach in one sport at one school, you know, 897 wins or something crazy like that. And we have a team meeting, and he's talking to the guy about phones and about videoing things. And he said, guys, because I want to explain something to you. They have a name for this stuff now. He said, it's called evidence.
Now they're going through people's high school yearbooks, right?
Oh, like, yeah. High school yearbook, medical school yearbook. The guy in Virginia now is medical school yearbook. Kavanaugh was high school yearbook. I mean, again, I always think, God almighty, I hope they don't dredge up some of my friends. Luckily, we were in a time, and I was going to say, Don, I'm significantly older than you guys, but Derek's much older than he looks, so I can't really, I can't give him the benefit of that. I'm significantly older than you, but in Derek and my time, there aren't very, like, you don't have a ton of pictures, Derek, right? From college or
No, nothing. Like I have one picture of me like long jumping or something, and it's blurry, or one picture. I posted one picture of me sprinting, and it was like grainy, and I'm like, oh my God. Like
I have really like I probably could find some, athletic pictures of me from a high school yearbook or something, but that might be the extent of what I could put my hands on from high school. Whereas now, I mean, my kids have, thousands might be on the underside of, the number of pictures of themselves or their friends, their events, whatever, that they've saved. And, if you start archiving stuff, I mean, it'll be a very different world 20 years from now again, because imagine being in a world where, again, this evidence has hung on for, excuse me, I mean, how many decades, where now there's reams of this stuff.
Oh, I've got a story. Recently, my wife and I went somewhere and we needed identification. We were going to kind of let's just put it as like a government managed facility. And we're walking in, my wife had a problem with her ID, and we told them, and you can't go here and have a problem with your ID. And as they decided to let us through because we were able to name drop. But by the time we got to the next booth, when we showed up to the booth, they had her Facebook page pulled up already. Like they literally, this was like walking from my elevator to my office. And by the time we got there, her Facebook page was up. And we had to go to 6 or 7 checkpoints. And every time we got there, her social media pages were up. And they were pulling out pictures of her from years ago. And they were literally firing off questions. And they're looking at my ID. And they finally let us in. They didn't have to, but I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, there were things that were coming up that I never even saw. So, it is definitely scary. But Mike, good job on the social, by the way. I'm actually loving it. I'm loving what you're doing. It is a lot of fun, and
it's fun to sort of, again, you kind of search for your niche in terms of, okay, like for me, I'm definitely not an exercise video person. I've realized that I don't like, and even getting somebody, okay, here, you hold the camera, I'll do an exercise, you can film it. I've done a little bit of that, but I don't like it. It feels really contrived to me in the gym to be filming videos of myself while things are going on. And this is where kind of the privacy of the car has been really good. I can just sit there with the car. And Anthony Renner was one who said it. He was like, yeah, just flip the camera around and just film yourself talking. And I was like,
Are you driving or are you just sitting?
no, I'm on the highway. No. No, I'm sitting. What I do, honestly, I pull into the parking lot at work and I just pull in, and I realize now what I've got it down to is I can do this in 2 minutes, because I can record a 59-second video that now is acceptable to Instagram. And within a minute, I can have it up and on the site, and then go in the gym and go about my day. And I'm like, okay, I've fulfilled my social media requirement. Because the hard part too, and you realize this for all of us, for business, this is where your advertising is done. We don't spend advertising dollars. We're not spending money, trying to, put an ad in a newspaper or whatever it is. So now your ability to do and create social media really makes a huge difference. It is obviously it's brand development, but more than anything, it's developing an advertising strategy for your business, for the things that you're doing. So it's critically important in, as everything moves forward, because I always think the world is not going backwards. The internet's not going to get turned off next week, and people are going to say, oh, that social media stuff, oh, that was bullshit. It's not a phase. It's not something that's going to come and go. But the other thing is, even just the mediums. Think about now, Facebook is an old people's vehicle. So Facebook is mine and Derek's generation, not your generation, right? And Instagram is probably more your medium, Don. But
right.
Like for my kids, it's more Snapchat. They don't use any of those things. So, and I keep threatening with my son to get Snapchat. I'm like, I'm going to start Snapchatting because I need to keep getting hipper, because again, a big part of our audience is kids.
Right.
So we've got to figure out, how am I communicating? Now, how am I communicating with a generation that doesn't even watch television? My son doesn't watch television.
Right. It's crazy.
And the TV people haven't figured out yet that no one's watching television.
You've got to evolve. You really have to evolve. And I say this to the strength coaches who are, like you said, the best analogy was the horse. What'd you say? The horse and carriage and the plane?
Covered wagon and plane. Yeah.
Yeah, some people just don't want to get off that covered wagon. And I'm like, all right, man, then do the trip in 10 days instead of 3 hours. Like, and it's just, it's the best analogy to give. And I think what happens is people get so insecure that, like, wait, I'm so late to the game. And I'm not even worried about that. I don't even care about followers anymore. Just put up great content. Like, know your audience, cater to your audience, give them what they want. Like, like, what am I doing? Everything I put up, it's an answer to the question. Every once in a while, I got to put up a really fluffy video, and I'm kind of now getting so comfortable with myself that I've told my team around me that I'm just not going to do that. Even though I put up a video of myself hack squatting the other day, and felt like shit for doing it.
You're at Bev Francis's gym, so you get a pass.
I was at Bev Francis, and come on. I mean, it was all.
It was more of a historic piece.
But that it was a relic. But no, it's just a perfect example that. Ironically, I don't like to put up exercise videos. I do because I have to. Because how many videos of what do I do in the gym? I jump, throw, carry after I do my breathing drills and my dynamic warm up. I deadlift, I squat, I press, I do kettlebell swings, I do get-ups, I do pull-ups, and I do sled pushes, I do suitcase carries. Like, there's not like all this crazy variety that's in my program. My programs are really basic and simple. They're not fluffy with like 50 exercises. The problem is that the population out there, a lot of them, that's what they want. They're dictating success by the sweat and how complex a program looks. And sometimes I'll get comments like, "Oh, I'm giving you 3 stars on the workout," and I'll write back, "Well, why? I'm just curious. Give me some feedback." Well, it was too easy. Well, wait a second. You had the bench squat and the bent over row as your exercise. If it was too easy, just fucking go heavier. Like, what do you mean it's too easy? Like, I could take one of those movements and I could kill myself if I wanted. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but how is anything too easy? Does that make sense?
But don't you think your role, to some degree, like, you have more followers than both Mike and I, but isn't it to educate people to think some of the basic stuff is exciting or is good, right? Like,
that's what I'm trying to do now. That's what I'm trying to do now. I've gotten away from that, and I think over the last several years, understand of who I am and what my business is, and you got to fluff it up once in a while, Mike, and do a hanging leg raise with that shirtless. And I take a lot of flack from some friends, but you know what? It is what it is, and it's appealing to some markets, to some brands, and I kind of go with it. But man, it was really tough for me for a while. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, and I think it's you have to too. I think you have to figure out, okay, what are you doing it for? What line of work are you going to be in at that particular moment? And that was one of the things I was thinking about today. For me, I'm not worried. Someone posted on my Instagram today something about, oh, he just does it to get clicks, and I'm like, I could care less about clicks. I don't need. I don't mean to sound cocky, but that's not going to change my situation, my life, my gym, my business. None of that stuff's going to change because I get more, if I get 5 more views on a video. But at the same time, it's like you said, I don't think a lot of times in the beginning, you're trying to figure out, like with you've got a lot of different facets to what you're doing. You're doing online stuff. You've got a bricks and mortar business. You're working with a supplement company. So you've got to look at this and think, okay, how do I serve all these masters and ultimately myself best with this content? And I think sometimes you'll do some stuff like, oh, I didn't like that. I probably won't do that again. And something else, you'll realize, hey, I really like that, and I'm going to do more of that. And I think that's, again, part of you developing your social media strategy. And it's interesting. You look at guys like you and Frank Nash are out speaking on social media and fitness, but neither one of you would have looked at this and said, hey, I'm a social media guy. I majored in digital in college, and this is what I really wanted to do. And I kind of do fitness as a sideline. It's like, no, I just figured out I'm a little ahead on the advertising curve. I got into this, I early adopted, and I figured stuff out. And I think that's a lot of times too, for me, where the best information comes from. What I want to do is find from these early adopters and people who figured it out. Like, how did you figure it out? Like, I love Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
I loved Crush It early on. I loved that book, and I love the fact that he figured out how to be a wine critic on Vimeo. You know what I mean? Vimeo does it even exist? I'm not even sure if it's there anymore. But here's a guy who figured out, you know, how to vlog, and you realize now that's why he's still continuing to be a really big influencer, because he continues to figure out now his Instagram presence is massive, but he's a guy who's constantly been able to kind of adapt and, you know, find the wave and ride it. And then, okay, when that wave crashes into the beach, you know, he paddles up and gets another wave. You know, he's not sitting on the beach thinking, oh shit, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do now. And I think that's the beauty of success or failure, not just with our industry, but every place else, is that idea of being able to be adaptable and figure out, okay, what's next? What's going to come down the line next? What's going to work? What's not going to work? And also, you know, again, I forget who wrote Ready, Fire, Aim, but I love Ready, Fire, Aim in terms of, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the answers. You want to be on Instagram, good. Start, pick your phone up and start recording videos. Okay, you're on your way to being an Instagram star. And, you know, it's not much more difficult than that. And that's what I learned from Kevin and Marco, the Movement is Medicine guys, Brendan. They just started putting content up. I don't think they had any idea what they were doing either. They just thought, oh, we'll put up cool content, you know, good content, what we do, how we help people. But people started latching onto that, and, you know, one follower gets you another follower.
You know, it's interesting. I put up a post about esports because some people brought me in to talk about performance planning for esports, and there was a lot of backlash. And I'm like, do you know that this is going to be a $2.1 billion industry in a couple of years? Like, and there's a need for people to have involved that know nutrition, fitness, health, and wellness, like, for these people. And I don't play video games, but apparently it's a big deal, and like all the major corporations are getting involved. So.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, you'd look at that, and I mean, but even like look at, you know, whatever, you know, World Series of Poker and pool and those things being on ESPN. And how long ago? Those aren't sports. They're not going to be on ESPN. Well, yeah, they are, and they still are, and people still film them. And I mean, in esports, I mean, I can't even, like, esports to me, it just seems so kind of counterintuitive. but you're right. I mean, we were talking about this again with my son. I have a 14-year-old, and one of the things that we realize is that whatever, you know, esports is TV to those kids. And now they have interactive TV. Like, he's sitting there like you are, Derek, with a headset on, and he's now playing, you know, NHL 2018 with some friend of his who lives 2 miles away. He's doing things that we couldn't even have dreamed about doing. And instead, you know, my wife and I are like, oh, should we be letting him do this? And I'm like, you know, it's no different than me watching the Three Stooges when I was 14 for 3 hours. It's the same idea, just different.
I mean, as a parent, you almost do not know how to deal with it. Like, I'm always kind of tussling with, all right, is he on too long? Is he not? Are we not giving him enough time? You know, setting up regulations in the house from when he can use his phone, because everyone now, I mean, he's 10 and my daughter's 11. They're booking class. They're putting class schedules and after school activities up on these kids' phones now. And you need a phone to communicate and text with your parents after activities and all these things, where I'm like, I was so against it. If it was up to me, I didn't want my kids to have a phone till they were probably 16, 17, yet they're 10 and 11 and they have them now. But everyone's doing it. I don't think we know yet, you know, what's the backlash we're going to get from this. I know within the last 2 years, I never needed glasses. I had perfect eyesight because I've been on my phone so much. I'm sitting here looking at this camera right now, and it's blurry unless I put these on. If I was to pick up my phone without my glasses on, I probably couldn't even see it. That's 2 years of being on the phone. Yeah. And that happened fast. And I'm 41. So are there things starting to happen with us? Are these earbuds frying my brain because I'm walking off the subway every day wearing them? Like, you know, there's some article in Business Insider came out saying that they're doing, yet people are still wearing them. So what's going to happen to our children? What's going to happen to us? That's something that scares me probably more than anything.
Yep. But I think, again, I can, you know, again, having grown up sort of, you know, again, right, you know, we started out with black and white TV and 3 channels, and we're still here, and it's okay. And before that, I think it was rock and roll music that was going to destroy the world.
I love it.
White kids listening to black music, you know, that was going to be the end of the world. And so I think, we've lived through a couple of ends of the world here. So unfortunately, you're congressperson, and we have 11 years and some few days left, I think, based on you being in New York. But because 12 years will be the end of the world, and it's kind of one of those things. I mean, I don't, like I said, I do though the earbuds. There are certain things that I do get nervous about in terms of I can be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, and I do wonder if the whole cellular communication and how much Wi-Fi is going through your house and your life and your head, if we won't find, much like we've done, because there are things, if you think about, like, some of the birth defect things that they did realize were happening from things. Yeah, we could end up in a situation where we look and go, wow, this was a massive mistake. I think it's a big, it's good. Kids don't talk on their phone, they text. Which means there really was this whole brain thing that they were worried about. My wife just said, are they Snapchat? But either way, they don't put their phones to their heads. Like, it's really funny. Like, if you give a little kid a phone now, they'll look at it and they'll press on it. They won't put it to their ear.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they don't see it as like an ear-bound kind of device. They see it. And the other thing I always say to people is, when you think about the whole phone idea, I've had this conversation a lot of times with other adults. It's their encyclopedia, it's their television, it's their stereo. We had 4 or 5 or 6 of these items in our life that we used. These kids don't have them. They have one.
Right.
And it's the phone, and that phone provides music, and it provides a library, and it provides, all these other things. Television. My son will sit, like, you can't see me, but he'll sit and watch his phone. And I'll be like, wow. Here's a 48-inch TV downstairs, and you're looking at a 3.5-inch screen. And he's like, I'm fine. And they go, what am I going to do? I'm like, I know now the size of the screen is going to matter to me. I need you to look at a bigger screen. I'm going to feel better if you look at a bigger screen than a smaller screen. It becomes, you get into these kind of, all right, what pointless argument do I want to have with my kid today? And you just realize it's not worth it.
Totally agree. So, Derek, I know we're already up. I mean, I know you got a bolt, right?
I had one. It's probably a big question for Coach Boyle, but there was a post that I put up. It was about the NCAA is now looking at making sure that strength coaches are certified because some idiot at Oregon gave everybody rhabdo, and I know we've talked about certification before, and you have certifications, and I'm thinking of doing a certification, but what is your thought process around all of this? Like, obviously we want people to think and we want people to make good decisions, but where does certification fit into it for these types of, like, bodies like the NCAA or the NFL? Like, you have to have people certified, but it's not going to solve problems.
Well, I'll get myself in a world of trouble with this answer, but it's not going to solve problems because, again, I am not a fan. I think some of the certifications out there for strength coaches are extremely outdated anyway. So I would prefer that they had a certification that I felt was more current. The problem that we run into, and this is an American football problem, is there are people hiring guys who do not have any real educational background, who probably shouldn't be in a student welfare position, which is really the position that the strength and conditioning coach is. I don't know if it matters that your offensive line coach has a degree in history from some school, because he's not going to really be in charge of player welfare like the strength and conditioning coach is. But I do think there has to be some kind of minimal level, and whether somebody is allowed to kind of test out of that. Like, if you look at that and say, hey, I've got a bachelor's degree in exercise science and I graduated cum laude from the school that I went to, and that exempts me from having to have some, ridiculous certification, that's different. But when you get a guy who doesn't have any sort of undergraduate or graduate education in the field, and then has some sort of, again, some of these guys have had these kind of very nebulous certifications where you look and think, well, it allowed him to have some letters after his name, so maybe that made it more palatable to the people doing the hiring. But I do think, I think, again, should the NCAA be in charge of oversight of anything as far as legalities go? That's another question that we could get into in terms of when you organize a tournament that allows all of your basketball players to just leave school for a quarter, a half a semester so that they can make money for the institution. I'm not sure if you're really meeting any kind of educational mission. But at the same time, I do think that, yeah, like there's got to be some sort of basic bar that we have to be able to get over as opposed to slide under.
Totally agree with that. Mike, first off, thank you so much for coming on. It's never enough time with you.
Well, especially when I don't come on time. So I apologize for that in terms of all of a sudden. I was like, oh no, because what usually happens is the link re-shows up that day, and then I remember that it was kind of buried in the back of my email, and I was like, oh my God, I got to do this.
It's
and
all
usually
good.
I get it in time. Even I've never actually missed one, but I've.
You didn't miss one. You were still here.
Yeah, this might be. I got a late. I got to get a note and send it to Derek, not to you, because you're a junior guy here, but I got to send it to Derek.
Mike, could you let everyone know your social media handle, your business, where they can find you, because there's going to be a lot of interested people who listen.
So Twitter is mboyle1959. Instagram is Michael_Boyle1959, because I couldn't get mboyle1959. Some other genius already stole it from me.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, amazingly. And the best place is strengthcoach.com. That's where I'm trying to develop kind of an intellectual hub where people can come and really converse every day, where we're putting up articles. I always consider myself, it's like I'm the curator of that museum, and I'm there every day, and I answer questions, and I'm pulling up articles for people. And then obviously our business website is bodybyboyle.com, but that's really, if you're not within about 20 minutes of Woburn, Massachusetts, that probably isn't going to do you a whole lot of good. So those are the biggies.
Well, Mike, listen, can't thank you enough. And I know Derek will attest to me. Mike, everyone listening, Mike's become a very good friend, someone that I look up to in the industry. I like to refer to him as the Babe Ruth of strength and conditioning, and has given me more advice than any of you know. And I always look forward to our breakfast in Rhode Island for Perform Better. But so listen, thanks again for everything, and I can't wait to catch up in person.
All right, great. Thank you guys very much for having me on. And again, I do apologize for
please.
No problem.
Makes a good story. It's fun. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Derek. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.